Hi, my name's Tim Morey, and I am a church planter, and I am an adjunct professor at Fuller Theological Seminary. When my wife and I first got into church planting, the first step that we took, as the first step is for many planters, is we attended an assessment center. We were pretty young at the time. I was just finishing up seminary. I was 26 years old. She was a year younger than me. We'd been married for 1 year. And we went to this assessment center with really low expectations. Our thought was that after several days of them being with us, they would thank us for coming and tell us we were nice young people, but not ready to plant. Much to our surprise, they gave us the green light, and they said, we believe that you can do this, and we want to get behind you with money and help you plant this church that we were dreaming of planting in San Diego. Well, through a series of events, that church didn't happen. That became the first of many disappointments that I experienced in the world of church planting. Looking back on it, though, my wife and I joke that God delivered us from it. We were not ready, and we didn't realize that yet. Instead, God sent me to another church. I served as a staff pastor at another church in Los Angeles for 5 years, and that ended up being an incredibly valuable time for me. I wasn't ready, and I needed some areas of additional preparation that I couldn't have seen at that first assessment center and on the eve of starting that first church. Thankfully, we did plant eventually, started Life Covenant Church in Torrance, and as of now, we've been at that work for 15 years, and it's been beautiful and fruitful and difficult, but God's been in it. What I found in me, and what I find in a lot of church planters that I have the privilege of working with, is that the thing that often derails us in church planting isn't so much a lack of skills. Rarely is it that the skills that we need to do the church planting are not present. Most church planters are going into it with pretty well-developed ministry gifts. But what I find often undermines us is an underdeveloped spiritual life. To plant a church means, among other things, that we need to walk closely with Jesus, to have him be doing his work in us over time of forming us into the kind of disciples and the kind of pastors and leaders that he would have us be. Think about it. When you are in the midst of church planting, and perhaps some of you are in this now and others are thinking about it in the future, but when you're in the middle of a church plant and you're in a season where it seems like you're just hemorrhaging people, and all the work that you're doing to build this body and make something special happen here seems to be undermined by person after person moving on for whatever reason. Or maybe you're in a place where if your livelihood is dependent on the church plant, where you find that month after month after month you're stressed over the finances, you're barely making it, and you're wondering if you're going to have enough to pay next month's health insurance bill. Or perhaps you're in a place, or you would be in a place where that trusted mentor, that good friend, who swore they would be in this with you to the end, they've decided they're moving on. Or maybe your spouse has come to you and said, I can't do this anymore. It's too hard. And all the while, in the midst of all these things and more, we have that nagging voice of insecurity inside ourselves and the enemy right there near us too, whispering, do you really have what it takes? When we're in that spot, another preaching clinic is not going to help. Reading yet another book on how to be a catalytic leader is not the solution that we need. What we need is to be so deeply connected to Christ that his life alive in us is shaping us into the men and the women that he needs for us to be if we're to carry out the work of church planting. We do this for our own sake. We do it for the sake of our family, if we have a family. We do it for the sake of our church, of those that we lead. Unhealthy churches are led by unhealthy pastors and vice versa. And at the same time, if we are taking steps to be a healthy pastor, then we've taken a tremendous step towards having a healthy church as well. Henry Nouwen put it this way. He said, it's not enough for the priests and ministers of the future to be moral people, well-trained, eager to help their fellow humans, and able to respond creatively to the burning issues of our time. All of that is very valuable and important, but it's not the heart of Christian leadership. The central question is, are the leaders of the future truly men and women of God? People with an ardent desire to dwell in God's presence, to listen to God's voice, to look at God's beauty, to touch God's incarnate word, and to taste fully God's infinite goodness. Before anything else, before you and I are church planters, we are apprentices of Jesus. And our primary work as church planters is to lean into the work that Jesus is doing in you and I, and to be formed into his image.